You know what I'm betting on?
What's that?
I'm betting on NXT don't do another show like they did last night. 'Cause if they do, I may have to give up on them.
Wow, I didn't expect you to hate it that much.
Well, not after what I saw afterwards, but there's so much potential here, and it's just all so. I liked this week and we're talking about the October 21st editions of the Wednesday Night Wars, the musical variety comedy spectaculars. I liked this week, instead of going and giving us 20 minutes of a girls' match or whatever, they give us something at the start involving some men. But they're doing the thing. Remember, every week I say, well, AEW leaves off most of the entrances, the introductions. They just go straight into action. Well, this week, AEW gave us a proper show open, announcer, billboard, everything, and they just, over on NXT, just jumped into it. But I thought the opening match was going to be Velveteen Dream against Kushida. And I was about to say, well, I need to make some time up. But here, Ciampa jumped Velveteen Dream from behind, and I found out he's in the match, and it's a three-way. So I'll watch it now. Can you explain to me, Brian, why the Velveteen Dream has gone from Prince to dressing like Devon Dudley?
I can't explain that. He had a cast on his hand as well.
Well, I can explain. They mentioned he's injured.
He has a very funny way of selling everything.
Well, we'll talk about that. And I don't know why his cast was unraveling into toilet paper. I'm not sure about that. But he used to dress like Prince and look like Prince and act like Prince. And now he's dressed in army fatigues, combat boots, and a fucking T-shirt or shirt of some description. Anyway.
Maybe they're trying to get him away from a highly sexualized gimmick.
Well, I don't know whether your gimmick is highly sexualized, but mine can go either way. It can sometimes be highly sexualized, and other times it can stay there and just hang out or sit around, whatever the case. Anyway, I loved especially the first segment of this because I thought, okay, they're doing something here. They're highlighting one of the only real stars they've got, Tommaso Ciampa. He's the only one wearing wrestling gear. He's the only one that looks like a fucking grown adult that's not on crack here. Kushida always looks like the airline lost his bag. I can't get over it. It's just he's a small child wearing tennis shoes and blue jeans. But I mentioned I could watch Tommaso Ciampa beat these two guys up all night because he was doing it well and creatively. They did some different shit. And he just looks like, so I'm thinking, okay, they're going to have him. It's a nice opening match. He's going to win this thing. They're going to get him over and move him toward another star. That's what I thought in the first segment. I did also note that Velveteen Dream he's trying so hard now to oversell that it makes him awkward to work with. Did you see what one guy grabbed his wrist and went to fucking just twist his arm, and he fucking oversold it to the point where the guy couldn't hardly get his arm twisted. And he's screaming at it. Anyway, this wasn't as bad as most triple threat matches because it was more of a showcase for Ciampa to be a badass. And except whenever any one of the other guys took over, Jesus, did you say Kushida at one point gave Tommaso Ciampa a head palm shoot off and Tommaso went with it? A bald guy. You can't even make the weak argument that, well, he had him by the hair. He just put his hand on the back of a bald man's head that was twice the size of him and said, go, and he ran into the ropes. I almost fast forwarded there. Fuck taking the Velveteen Dream's Death Valley driver. I'll say that also. Right on your fucking stomach. What the fuck? I noticed that with who was it? Bronson Reed's Samoan drop also. They're giving these guys each other these moves for fucking real. So anyway, would you like to hear in my notes exactly what I wrote 30 seconds before the finish?
Yes.
The only thing that made this match good from a business standpoint, it was good action. It was good for a triple threat, as I said. They did a lot of it well. But the only thing that made this match good from a business standpoint was it's making Ciampa strong. And 30 seconds later, the Velveteen Dream knocks Ciampa out with his fucking unraveling toilet paper cast, and Kushida pinned him, and the fake crowd roared. What the fuck? Even if you wanted to have Tommaso Ciampa involved with the Velveteen Dream, you can't figure out any way better to do it than to have Tommaso Ciampa get pinned by Kushida. All righty then. What'd you think?
I thought it was all right as far as triple threat matches go. I'm not a big fan of multiple man or multiple team matches, like one-on-one or, one team versus another. But I thought this had a lot of action. It was really good. I like Kushida better than you do, clearly, although you may have a point about his gear. The Velveteen Dream is just so bizarre. He's like a fish out of water with the way he sells. And I was surprised by the finish. But overall,
and not in a good way. Sort of like not as surprised by the finish like when the Mulkeys actually beat the Gladiators on TBS, but more surprised by the finish like every time George Goulas won a match.
I guess. I mean, look, if they go into a program with Ciampa and Kushida, it could be something. I don't know why all three of these guys are doing something together.
I don't like Velveteen Dream, but I think Velveteen Dream is a bigger star than Kushida. At least he looks full grown, and they've used him, I don't know.
Kushida's better than you give him credit for, and I understand if you've only seen him in NXT, you may not have seen the best of Kushida. In fact,
does he own Trunks?
At one point, he certainly has owned Trunks, yes.
What about Boots?
I can't speak to Boots. But it's not like he's unique.
You can speak to Boots, but Boots won't speak back.
I thought Boots the Cat was killed a long time ago. But listen, he's not unique in the wrestling business as being someone without traditional wrestling gear right now.
Exactly. He looks like every one of these other little fucking kid dumb fuck cosplay players. Instead of, he's not alone in the wrestling business. All right. This was very cool what they did next. The Undisputed Era backstage with Adam Cole on the TV monitor doing the promo in live time with the other guys. It wasn't their best promo. They didn't have a ton to talk about, but I liked the idea that, okay, we've established Adam Cole isn't there, but it was a cool visual. And they were still, of course, they talked about tonight versus Fan Dancer, so I wish they hadn't told me the match, because then I was kind of, I want to see them. I don't want to see Fan Dancer. But what'd you think about the cute little trick with the monitor, Cole on the monitor?
I thought it was all right. I haven't brought this up. I haven't asked anyone, including you. What exactly is that little hand signal that Undisputed Era do?
I don't fucking know.
It's like 2 fingers on one hand, 3 on the other, but what does any of it signify?
Go back and look at any picture of the Hardy Boys and Lita in from 1999 till 2004 or thereabouts. They're all sticking fingers up.
Yeah, the shocker. They're doing the shocker. I understand what
No, they stuck all kinds of fingers. Sometimes it's 2 fingers like a gun, and other times it's hook 'em horns, and other times it's a finger to the fucking head. I don't know. There's fingers and signs and everything. I don't know why all these people do these things.
But the Undisputed Era have the Freebirds had the Freebird handshake. The Undisputed Era have a thing that they do every single time. I don't understand what it signifies.
I don't either. But it's just young people do these things, apparently.
Bobby Fish isn't that young.
Well, he's hanging out with the cool kids. And at least he can hang. He doesn't come in with a skateboard and say, hello, fellow kids. Like some people we know. Next up, Ember Moon beat somebody. You have any thoughts on this?
I haven't been a fan of Ember Moon, so I executed my Ember Moon rule, which means I don't have to watch Ember Moon.
Oh, now you're not allowed to just make up rules for no reason.
If a
there has to
wrestler,
be an instigation.
if I've seen a wrestler multiple times and there's nothing about them that interests me and I'm not really a fan of their work, I execute a rule in their name, which allows me to hit the 30-second fast forward button at least 6 times in a row. Potentially another 6 times after that.
And then there you go. So Ember Moon beat somebody. Okay, then we go back to the locker room area, or backstage, as they all call it. Let's just give up any pretense. This is a sport, and we're not going to the locker room. We're going to the dressing room. We're going backstage, where the rehearsals are taking place. But anyway, Bobby Fish is limping. The rest of the Undisputed Era, minus Cole, who's not there, is helping him. He said he didn't see who it was. What the fuck? I remember when we needed armed, uniformed police security in the building to protect us from the fans. Now, apparently, the wrestlers need the security in the locker room area to protect each other from each other. How many wrestling programs from every company have we seen lately where somebody, over the last 3 months even, where somebody got jumped in the fucking locker room before their match? Do you have an exact count, or you just want to fucking estimate?
It's been a few times. I don't know.
What the fuck? Can anybody think of anything else? Anything else? He ran across the street to get a fucking energy drink and got hit by a fucking cab? That could actually happen. A more likely scenario than getting jumped in a goddamn enclosed room in the middle of a locker room full of wrestlers. You don't know who fucking did it. So now they're fucking with the Undisputed Era. Is this all as contrived and just overdone as it appears to me, or am I just picky that way?
Wrestling, to me, was better when we didn't have any backstage segments, where anything that happened in front of the camera, in front of the fans, and every now and then you were told about something, but there was no camera on the side of the road when Austin Idol discovered the 4 flat tires. He came back and he told you why he wasn't there. That's an example of how to do something that affects the matches on that card without actually seeing it. But now everything's backstage. If Austin Idol had 4 flat tires, there would be a camera in the back seat. There'd be a camera on the side of the road. There'd be a camera in a truck that passes by.
I can remember in all my years of producing wrestling television, we had fights in the backstage area on occasion that you would see that for some reason either the camera would be alerted or something, would break loose from a pre-tape promo or whatever. But only one time did I do a ghost physical attack where the camera comes back and a guy's already laying there. The only time I can ever remember. And the reason we did it was because Ricky Morton's father, Paul, was going to come to a Smoky Mountain taping, and the heels were going to jump him and beat him up. And it was in, I think, a small town in Western Virginia. Paul lived in Nashville. He's going to come with Ricky, but he got sick. And Paul was in his late 60s, maybe 70 at that point. And he got sick, and he couldn't make the trip. And I'd already written it in the goddamn format, so Paul Morton, for everybody who's ever seen him, he was a referee in the Tennessee Territory for decades, and he'd been on TV everywhere, was like 5'4" or 5" and about 140 pounds. And I said, son of a bitch, Brian Hildebrand, get over here. And we put a different shirt on Brian and had him laying there, and his head was behind a bench in the locker room. And somebody was screaming, and the camera came from the announce desk and opened the door, and there was Ricky crying over his father laying there, and all the fucking baby faces wringing their hands and clutching their pearls. Ricky Morton's father has been attacked, and I think it was a Father's Day deal, too. That's why he was going to be there. That's the only time, out of necessity. How is it once in a while, like every few years, it may be possible for somebody to be jumped in the fucking locker room and beaten up by their goddamn... But come on. Anyway, I'm not going to belabor it anymore. The next match was actually, I believe, the match of the night from both shows. Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed. I will be glad to go look back after we talk about everything, but I didn't see a match from start to finish that made sense, contained a babyface and a heel, had good looking work from guys that were full grown and athletic, and at least got something over. Even if they're beating Austin Theory to death, at least for Bronson Reed's going to be a star. Does Bronson Reed have new music? I never noticed it being rotten before. Or have I just been zipping through the entrances?
You know, I've never really paid much attention to his music, so I couldn't tell you.
God, it sounded fucking rotten. But anyway, as I said, a heel and a babyface, and two guys that look like fucking something. Austin Theory with that attitude, what bumps he's working hard, but not in an off-kilter, awkward, out-of-control, stagey way like Velveteen Dream. He's bumping like a fucking heel. And like a good heel. And here is what Austin Theory did. Go back and watch this. Anybody who's kept it on tape. Well, actually, you probably do because you want to hear me talk about it first and alert you on what to watch. Bronson Reed does Vader shoot-offs from buckle to buckle. Fucking rotten. You know what I'm talking about? What Leon used to do?
Yeah.
He'll grab the guy's wrist in the turnbuckle, and he will just pull him out and shoot him off all the way across the ring. Without taking another step, without dragging the guy, without going with him halfway, without really shooting him off, just boom, so that he can gear all that weight up and come charging. And that was the weakest point in Vader's game, and that's what Bronson Reed was doing, but he did it to Austin Theory, and I swear to God, Austin Theory realized in mid-whip what he was doing and stumbled on purpose. It looked like stumbled and waved his arms a little bit where it looked like he was off balance to explain why he was going to end up in that fucking turnbuckle instead of this guy just flat-footed saying, go, go, go away. So, but Reed's good. He looked like a beast here. And as I said, Austin Theory put on a nice little heel clinic. I thought it was a little blah that they did, once again, an overused knock the heel off the ropes and splash him finish, but what a fucking splash it was, my God. But I don't know why everybody has to crawl up on the fucking turnbuckles in the corner and jockey for position for a minute to where you lose any semblance. This is actually not two guys cooperating with each other. As I said, I didn't mind Austin Theory doing a job here because Bronson Reed's a future superstar. But then Austin Theory challenges him to do it again. And fucking they start another match. And within seconds, Reed hits the stiffest Samoan drop I have ever seen in my life. Did you see the impact on that one? Holy fuck. I mean, and this was all well done. I don't know why they're doing a losing streak with a guy that's better than 90% of their fucking roster. But otherwise than that, this was fine. There was nothing wrong with this whatsoever. I don't know. Tell me what was wrong with it if you found something.
Well, the finish and the way they're beating down Austin Theory what was wrong with it. He exudes charisma. He's good in the ring. He looks like a full-grown wrestler. Both these guys, I was watching this match, and I was just thinking, like, these two guys in there together, this would have worked look-wise, just appearance-wise, in the Irish McNeil Boys Club. This would have worked in the TBS studio. This would have worked throughout wrestling's television history.
It would have worked on Raw in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, they both look like professional wrestlers. They're really good. Austin Theory's really good, especially when you think about his age. I don't know why they're booking him like this. I don't know who he pissed off. That's the only thing I could think of.
Well, I've got some hope here because after they go to the break, they come back with the camera out in the parking lot, and he's got his bag and he's getting in his car and driving off, and he says, "I quit." Possibly they will bring him back in a month with a new gimmick. Hopefully not a different name, but some type of, or something to, he's gone away and learned a new hold. He's gone away and got another advisor. He's something.
A, he doesn't need a gimmick. B, the way NXT is.
Well, I don't mean a gimmick. Yeah, I'm just a different look, a different outfit. He goes to the monastery and studies the monks. And I don't know, something to change his mindset and his outlook. I'm trying to figure out how to turn a negative here into a positive. Why would you beat the guy twice, have him slink off and quit on camera? They got to bring him back as something bigger and better, but a natural extension where he's done it on his own. He's found something, or elsewise they're just making a jack-off out of this guy.
It's NXT. He's going to come back with Robert Stone. You know what I mean? It's NXT.
Well, next on NXT, Pablo Escobar and the Lucha Suits took on Swerve, Atlas, and what's his name? And Escobar's team won. Could you flesh out the details on that one?
It was a 6-man indie match that I wasn't crazy about. That's all I could say. I said it last time. None of these guys have really interested me, so I tune it out. That's what happens when someone doesn't interest you on a wrestling show. You tune it out. When I did watch, it was just indie-rific. I really didn't care much for it.
And that's the thing. I like Escobar when I've seen him in a singles match. He looks like he knows what he's doing. But just they blend together in the group, and I saw, I think it was Swerve, jumped over the rope and did a handstand on the apron and flipped out onto the floor on his feet to fuck it. I was like, what the fuck? So anyway.
I will say, I think it was Swerve during this match, both companies, AEW and NXT, I'm seeing more and more dives where...
Constantly.
I mean, it's nonstop, but more and more that look like the guy's going to really hurt himself. Not that he's going to hurt his opponent, but he's going to twist his knee or land on his head. More and more I'm seeing these dives where I'm like, I mean, it didn't really look like he hurt his opponent that much. His opponent was waiting for him to do it, and it looked like he may have twisted his leg.
They banned the pile driver in the WWE that almost anybody can give if you know what you're doing, and absolutely anybody can take if the guy giving it to you knows what you're doing, but they let these guys dive constantly onto multiple people and from high places and just don't say anything. Okay. We found out on our weekly feature, Mr. and Mrs. Same Face at Home, that Johnny hates wheels. He hates to spin the wheels. Wheels have it in for him. And the wheel is going to get him in a buried alive match or a casket match or something. And this was so contrived and so phony. And I don't know why people are doing this or why they're watching it.
Really bad. I've really detested these segments. I did have one epiphany, though, watching this. You know, Johnny Gargano has an interesting mustache. And if you shaved off his beard and just look at his mustache, because it grows more in the middle than on the sides, he kind of has he kind of resembles Hitler. Next time you see Johnny Gargano, tell me he doesn't resemble Hitler. That's all I'm saying.
Well, unfortunately, in this case, Eva Braun is the only hope of the family because she's at least somewhat, well, she's better than he is. Anyway, next up, I'm going to institute a new rule. No heartwarming stories about a big, surly, but lovable lug and a plucky, determined sidekick being reluctant partners and becoming friends to battle the same underneath heel team each and every week, a.k.a. Drake Maverick and Killian Dane versus Everrise.
By the way, when we talked about the Ring of Honor stuff that you were there for, apparently a bunch of people got in touch with us. The tag team we weren't familiar with, 3.0, that was Everrise.
Yes. Yeah, well, it's been 10 fucking years, so I saw him once. What happened here?
Oh, I thought you knew. I have a Drake Maverick rule. I fast-forwarded.
Okay, very good.
Right to the end of this, I didn't even see what exactly he did other than he got disqualified. I heard the announcement, and then Killian Dane suddenly accepted him. This has been awful. This is terrible. Week after week.
It's not even these guys' fault because fucking Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman couldn't get this shit over because it's just rotten, stupid material. But then they go backstage again, and Roderick Strong is out on the floor, face down, out cold, colder than a banker's heart. Fuck me. Seriously? Somebody call the Florida Bureau of Investigation because these heinous, violent acts are just...
I think they're already investigating WWE because there was a list put out of the top places for COVID super spreaders. And
Yeah.
3 of them were WWE.
Well, they need to be investigated for fucking COVID spreading and also for violent physical assaults in the locker room that can happen. Nobody knows what's happened. What is this, an Agatha Christie novel where each one of them wanders off alone and then suddenly they don't come back and then they find it? It's so preposterous. How could this happen? And then once they go to the break, they come back. Now there's Kyle O'Reilly all by himself. They're supposed to wrestle Fan Dancer later in the program for the tag title. So Kyle says, fuck it, I'm not competing. And Birch and Lorcan get the tag team title match. Kyle gives it to him. Of course, you can see this coming a mile away. Who are they going to blame for doing these attacks? Obviously, Birch and fucking Lorcan. But in the meantime, now instead of the Undisputed Era versus Fan Dancer, where I wanted to see half the match, I liked Birch and Lorcan against the Undisputed Era, against Fish and fucking Strong. I don't like Fan Dancer under any circumstances. Now I give no shits about this main event. But speaking of no shits, up next came Zia Lee against Mildred Burke. At least it may have been Mildred Burke. I don't know, because I fast-forwarded immediately when I saw that this was the girl that was smaller than little darling Dagmar. At least Dagmar had some thighs on her. She had some circumference. She had a low power base, probably a power lifter in her day. What the fuck? So they're having this match, and then Raquel Gonzalez comes in and laid out both of these girls and whoever the girl was on the fucking floor also, and cut a promo on Rhea Ripley. The physical part was good. The verbal part was not. Would that be your estimation?
There was a promo before the match where Xia Li was insisting she needs to win this match. She really needs to. And she's going against her friend Casey. And then she proceeds to lose in the match. And as I'm thinking, I wonder where they're going to go here, all of a sudden Raquel Gonzalez hits the ring and beats everyone up. So I still don't know where they were going with that.
Well, they're making good time, but they're hopelessly lost. So then Cameron Grimes was backstage. You know what? That's where the action is all backstage. Cameron Grimes in the back. He's doing a promo with one of the girl interviewers about Dexter Lumis.
Mackenzie.
That's right. The blonde from TNA.
She was in TNA?
When I went down there to fire Bruce Pritchard, she was.
Oh, no shit.
I always loved Cameron Grimes, and he adds a little life to everything. But now she gives him the stipulation. What was it? The Haunted House of Horrors match they're doing Halloween Havoc next week. Is that or Haunted House of Horrors Terrors or?
It was something like that. I don't remember.
Whatever
exactly.
the fuck it may be. And then Cameron Grimes gets scared, but he gets fake scared. Scared where you know he's trying to act scared. And he's standing in front of a door with a fucking big window. And Dexter Lumis pops in and just stares at him through the fucking window in the door. But he never sees him and nobody acknowledges it. And then Cameron Grimes has to shrivel on off, muttering, this was rotten and phony. Because it just couldn't happen and nobody would say these things. I mean... Was that cutting edge fucking cinematography that Dexter Lumis just stands and looks on the other side of this window and they're just ignoring him so that they don't see him?
I give him credit for holding that face for a minute or so. I really like Cameron Grimes.
I give him fucking credit for fucking staying on his program for more than a minute or so. Go ahead.
That's all I have to say.
All right, I really like Kanye. All right, well, I really like Timothy Thatcher. Thatch Can was coming up, and they managed to turn me off to this now. Here's what I wrote. I love these segments. Thatcher is so smooth. He does a good job of being an asshole, and you see him enjoying putting the pressure, and his shit looks legitimate. And then I wrote, and it's gone. The idiot, unknown, goof, stooge student that he had to demonstrate his fucking holds on, he cranks up on a front face lock. Then he cranks up on the guy on the arm when he's tapping and really fucking punishes him, which is the whole point of doing this, and this is what he should be doing. And then as Thatcher gets up and talks to the camera, the guy gets up behind him with mad face. When he turns around, he gets a fucking front face lock on Timothy Thatcher, and Thatcher can't get out of it. And he makes him uncomfortable, and he takes him to the corner, and finally Thatcher gets out of it. Brian, what should he have done if this would have been a perfect segment? If Thatcher had done what right then?
I don't know.
Take the fucking guy down, ride him, rub his face in the mat, have him bite a fucking condom and bleed from the fucking mouth, and then put something on him that you could believably say tore his fucking shoulder out, and have people run in, throw the X up, and drag the guy out screaming. That would have got Thatcher over. Instead, what they did was, after the unknown goof got Thatcher in a front face lock that he couldn't get out of, and he went to the corner and got out of it, then he said, "Oh, you think you're fresh, huh? Well, hey," and he gets a referee and sucker punches the guy like he would need to, calls for the bell, and by then I was so upset that they had done this, it had gone south, that I fast-forwarded to the end of the fucking thing. Actually, I fast-forwarded past it. I don't even know what happened. How do you botch this up? How do you have a guy whose whole gimmick is being an old-time fucking hooker from the snake pit and likes to punish people and take advantage of them, and he's in there with a stooge, and the stooge gets offense, and the guy and Thatcher doesn't kill him afterwards. He has to sucker punch him, and then he does whatever the fuck they did. How do you go that far wrong with something like that?
You know, for everyone who thinks we just kill AEW, and they ignore when we say good things about AEW, just note, we kill NXT too because it's a bad show. And there are guys we like, you're pointing out here with Thatcher, I've been high on him too. And then they're used in a stupid way on this bizarre show that is just, it's in the ring wrestling, and then it's backstage segments, and then things you don't see backstage, and then at home with the Garganos. And then back here, Thatcher's Thatch Can, which has a different look than everything else on the show so far. And I didn't know where they were going with it. You know, it started out as one thing.
Where did it go? How did he beat the guy finally?
Shit, I don't even fucking remember.
Don't even remember, do you? There you go.
The guy looked like shit, though. I'm thinking they're not going to give this guy a comeback, are they?
It wasn't even like, let's make a new talent. Let's have somebody stand up to the bully. It was some fucking schlub that looked like he went to give blood and forgot to say when. And fucking, he got his hair cut at a fucking Deadhead show. All right, you're going to have to fill me in on one more thing, because the next match was the main event on possibly the worst NXT show we have ever reviewed, except for Tommaso Ciampa's one-man performance and Austin Theory versus Bronson Reed. There was nothing on this program that made a lick of sense or was attractive in any way. And then the tag team title was on the line with Fan Dancer versus Lorcan and Birch. Fan Dancer started doing their male stripper entrance, and I zipped to the finish where Lorcan and Birch won and looked really happy about it. And then I saw that a masked man had interfered. And so I went back and watched the finish, and it was what it was. But the masked man unmasked, and it was Pat McAfee. What the fuck?
He took out the Undisputed Era. He was the man that we didn't see on camera.
Well, but
picking them off.
Here's the thing. If he wanted to fuck the Undisputed Era, they had the title match. So put them in the title match and fuck them out of the title instead of fucking them out of the title match. And then we have to watch Fan Dancer versus Lorcan and Birch. And I don't fucking understand. He fucked Fan Dancer.
Because this way, instead of doing it the way you just said, they get the titles off Fan Dancer, who aren't exactly lighting things up, They get him on Lorcan and Birch, who obviously they want to do something with, because they're putting him with Pat McAfee, who is the best heel in the company as soon as he walks in the door. Well, now, wait a minute.
Are they with Pat McAfee, or is he just come out to fuck the Undisputed Era? Because if he's with Pat McAfee, what in the Sam hell are they fucking doing? What does he have in common with these two fucking guys from fucking England?
I don't know, and I could be wrong, but the way I took it at the end there was they're aligned now. And obviously, if he's taking out the Undisputed Era, he needs some guys on his side who could work a match. So, through basic deduction, I figured Birch and Lorcan are now associated with Pat McAfee.
Well, that'll just be wonderful. Pat McAfee will instantly walk in and be one of their top two heels, especially now that the Undisputed Era are baby faces, and I don't know that he needs two bald-headed guys hanging out with him. So anyway, the only thing worth a shit in 2 hours was Reed versus Theory and Ciampa beating people up. That was 2 hours of my life I will never get back.